let's just jump into the agenda. So what we'll do is we'll talk about introductions, which I've just done, but I'll do a quick overview of our history here at iCoTech and our approach and our offerings, and then we'll just talk about SharePoint in a nutshell, really, in terms of the lists, the pages, the content types, how it could be used as a SharePoint a document management system, and also I'll give you a demo of a demo environment that we've got available to us here at iCoTech, and just a show and tell of the service and what it could be used for, hopefully to kind of prompt some thinking and some ideas, and you know, how you can use this in your own business or in your own use case. So I'm just going to bring up my control, because here we go, and move into the presentation itself. Bear with me, just battling with PowerPoint. Cool. So a bit about our history then. So my background is project and portfolio management. So I started off in Welsh Water, and then I did a short stint in Lloyds Banking Group, and then I went on to be the head of projects and governance in Babcock International Group. I did a short stint in Companies House as the head of P3, head of portfolio delivery, and that's really where iCoTech started. So our history as iCoTech, really, we have customers like Bayes, Department for Business, Energy, Industrial Strategy, Office for National Statistics, ACAS, and Intellectual Property Office. And we deliver primarily to public sector, but we have some smaller private sector customers as well. So our approach, we like to use the best tools and the best systems to deliver technology. We love new ideas, new information, and bringing that to you guys through these type of mediums. We love researching and innovating, so we're always trying new things, always trying to break things and to do things better. And we hire the best people, and we like to kind of promote collaboration within iCoTech and within our partners as well as Microsoft. So we love learning and sharing, and this is part of this. So one webinar a week is our year 3 KPI, and we're doing that at the moment, although it's quite hard to keep that up, but we're sharing the load across all the iCoTech members of staff as well. So we've got a couple of webinars on Power BI, a couple of them on Power Automate as well. So we're doing one a week, and we love kind of sharing what we've learned with a community of people to allow them to go and use this technology in your businesses or in your use cases. And we love relationships and networking, so always networking with people from across the technology space as well. And all that to us is what we call delivering value at pace. So that's just how we operate here at iCoTech. What we do then, so it's really in 4 parts, the first of which is solutions. So we build technology solutions using the Microsoft 365 technology stack. So whether it's Power Apps, Power Automate, we'll build specific and custom solutions for our customers in Microsoft 365. Then we've got a set of products, so they're readily available products that we host and provision. They're like SaaS products that you can procure, and they do a specific thing, a specific use case, and meet a specific objective for the customers. Services on the other side then, so we've a standard kind of support desk service to Microsoft 365 users, and in and around all that is consulting. So a little bit of my time or Toby's time or Chris's time to do some kind of health check and reviews of systems and processes across some of those customers I talked about earlier on. So that's really what iCoTech do in a nutshell. We're a Microsoft 365 partner, so everything in the cloud, nothing on-prem. It's all kind of cloud services, and there's actually 48 applications available within Microsoft 365, of which most of us only kind of know 5, which are the standard Office products. But we specialize in delivery of Dynamics 365, Power BI, which is a data visualization tool, Power Apps, and also Project Online as well. And we do specialize in SharePoint, but it's one of those tools that we use to go and deliver and run the business here. A lot of our customers are more on Power App space or Power BI space, but we love SharePoint. I'm an avid user of SharePoint, and so we're going to show you a little bit about it today and what it can do for you. So what is SharePoint? Let's get back to the basics, really, is it? So SharePoint is a collaboration platform, and it actually says a web-based collaboration platform there, but that's not strictly true. It could be an on-premise service, so it could be SharePoint on-premise, 2013 or 2016, and more recently they've built the cloud version, online version of SharePoint. And what that allows you to do is to create communities, create social feeds, and collaborate with users from across your organization. It does have capability to collaborate with users externally, but I'll come on to that a bit later on. It's all about sharing data, sharing information, and predominantly a document management repository as well. I've had a number of conversations with people actually in the recent weeks where they're saying that SharePoint is a document management system, and it's not. It can do document management, but it's a collaboration tool, and it's about tracking information, records, and managing that information across your organization. Thus allowing people to collaborate effectively and efficiently. And it operates on the principles of low code, no code as well. So it's not about configuring. It's designed for end users to be able to build lists and libraries and that type of thing. I say this knowing that some people might disagree with this, but if your SharePoint system is locked down and you're unable to create a list, you're not using SharePoint. You're therefore just using it as a document management system. So if you're working for an organization where you're prohibited from creating a list or a view, you're missing 50% of the capability of SharePoint in reality there, in my view. Although security, IA, and IT will probably have a go at me for that, saying those type of stakeholders will go, well, no, it's got to be some control, which just has to be. But the idea is that as a site collection owner, as a site administrator, I'm able to go and create, and use the service as it's intended. And it really does help, specifically when we're working remotely as well. So having your team in different parts of the world or different locations, using SharePoint to collaborate, communicate, and share and inform each other is really the purpose of the tool. And I'll show you later on in the demo how you can do that really. So I guess breaking it down into chunks, I think, just to understand it a little bit more, SharePoint integrates with mail and calendar. So you've got all the ability to send emails, to surface calendars, to build distribution lists, and it heavily integrates with those type of services. It is the platform in which Microsoft Teams is based on as well. So it has the chat-based capability within SharePoint as well, although most people nowadays will use Teams to do that. But yeah, SharePoint is that service that hosts that. It integrates with Skype and kind of Skype for Business. So when you're sending documents through a Skype message, you're actually uploading that document to SharePoint and then downloading it on the other end. And it's all about co-creating content. So online, SharePoint Online is about co-creating content and sharing that with each other as well, and multi-user authentication. So both of you collaborating on that list at the same time. That's really where kind of SharePoint started. And if you notice, that's kind of moved into Word now and Office, where if you're using the browser version of Word, you can co-collaborate on that. Tag people in cells and comments and that kind of thing. But it first started in SharePoint in lists. So building content, lists, calendars, tasks, wiki pages, photo repositories, managing of metadata and version history of documents as well. That all is available in SharePoint. And then if you want to go the one step further, the enterprise social platform for Microsoft is Yammer. So that's kind of a next level again, really. But I encourage you, if you're using SharePoint quite heavily in the organization and you're not using Yammer, go and Google it and have a look at Yammer, because yeah, that's quite a good tool as well. Okay, so what's the benefits of SharePoint? So the first benefit for me is that it's secure. So being within Microsoft 365 in your tenancy, particularly in the online version, it's very secure. It's all about roles, permissions, and structures. So there's a limited risk of you being able to inadvertently share something that you shouldn't, particularly if you set it up correctly anyway. But it does help. The key benefit for me is it does help businesses be more collaborative as well. So sharing documents, sharing files, sharing information, and storing information. So one of the things the guys here tell anybody really is that I detest Excel. We don't use Excel here, although we do, but I try not to, because we try to keep everything in list format, and also limiting the amount of storage on a user's desktop or device is another modern way forward. Storing everything in SharePoint so you can collaborate with everybody, one-to-one folders, kind of delivery plans, whatever it is. All those documents need to be in SharePoint in a modern workplace type organization, utilizing SharePoint. And it can help automate tasks. So we don't touch on it today, but Power Automate is available within SharePoint, and we can connect to SharePoint lists. So One of the real benefits for me is if you've got a list, a tracker of, a marketing schedule or a list of risks across your organization, then you can use Power Automate to plug into that list to then share that record with the owner of the risk if it was set to a red rag, for example. So the automation capability is really popular and really what I think is one of the main benefits of SharePoint, in my opinion. So if you don't use SharePoint now, then I guess this just tries to articulate what it can be used for. If you do use it now, apologies. But effectively, it's building intranet sites, so internal websites, effectively, to share content with your users and your workforce. And you could do that by creating pages, and then you can attach document libraries, and then you can build lists onto that as well. We can add web parts to surface specific content. So web parts are components within a page where we could surface information. And we can, have visuals, charts, and those type of things, news, and then create team sites or community sites as well, depending on what your requirement is. So it's got a really wide, all-encompassing user requirement or use case. But we use it predominantly for workflows and forms and lists. That's what we use it for, really. And then, of course, it's the service that allows you to sync your files up to OneDrive, syncing to SharePoint, and allows you to collaborate with those files as well. So effectively, in OneDrive, when you've got a document stored and you share it with another person, you're essentially using SharePoint to do that. You just don't see that. So one of the other things I don't think many people know is that you can use SharePoint on your phone. So if you're really invested in SharePoint and you've got a lot of content on there, you can build it to have it, through a SharePoint app, which the user can log into using a Microsoft 365 corporate account. And you can have your feeds, your find people, and your kind of profile as well. So you can, say where you're working in the day, or get access to a document that's in a document library. A lot of people that we work with always think of SharePoint A as a document library system, and B as a browser-based system. I have to log on to it, but it has got a really feature-rich mobile app. So if you're not using that now, I encourage you to go and have a look at that, because it's a really good service, especially if you've got a high number of people engaging with the platform. So just a little bit of a landscape. I don't know why my arrows, apologies for my arrows. There's always one mistake in a presentation, and that's my mistake today. But yeah, I think I was going to draw something around how complex the services are as you go out from the middle there. But this is a diagram that shows that OneDrive is essentially used for your private content. So think of OneDrive as the new version of My Documents. Realistically, we encourage our partners to not use documents as on your device, on your client. They should be on OneDrive, and therefore you can access them from any device should you wish, and they're backed up. The one time then you want to share one file with your colleague, you can right-click share, and that service is effectively provisioned by SharePoint, as I mentioned earlier. But that's your private usage, your presentations, your OneNotes, or whatever it might be. Teams then is the next step up from that then. So Teams is about taking those files and collaborating with other users, more users, maybe 3 or 4 users at one place, and using the team service channels and all those things to kind of share and collaborate with those users. And then SharePoint is really, I think, where you've got like 5 or more people using a document. So if you've got a document like a policy or something you want to share to the whole business, a PDF document or an article or a report, that's where SharePoint is designed to kind of sit, where you've got more static document types or static information types and repositories, lists, documents, forms, those type of things. So yeah, and then around the outside of that is the extranet, so the opposite to the intranet, effectively, which is where you're surfacing content with your stakeholders that are outside of 365. So if you want to surface a news page, and you want to surface that and publish some articles from SharePoint out to your extranet, then you can use SharePoint to do that. So effectively just an external facing website that's powered by SharePoint that allows your users to come and access that content or that data and that service. So I hope that makes sense. I just wanted to set the scene really on SharePoint and what it can be used for. I'm going to come off here now and just go into a demo environment and just, as I say, any questions that come up, please do just put them in the chat window. I'd be happy to answer them. No problem at all. So SharePoint, this is a kind of Microsoft demo environment, so there might be some dollars and the reverse dates if you're in the UK, but if you're in America, it'll look normal. To us, the dates always confuse me. But yeah, so here is our landing page for SharePoint. So essentially, these are all the sites that we've got in this demo environment. And you can see there's, effectively giving us the news articles from the sites here. It's giving us our frequently visited sites, and here you're able to set your favorites as well. You've got some other buttons here like My Sites and My News and My Files as well. But for the purpose of this, I'll just go on to an existing kind of SharePoint site that's been created. So this is the modern version of SharePoint. So some of you may be looking at this thinking, oh, this looks a bit more modern than what I'm used to, because this is the SharePoint Online version. You may be using a SharePoint on-premise version, which looks probably archaic compared to this and back in the dark ages, but yeah, this is the modern version, and this is the SharePoint Online service, which has actually come on leaps and bounds, I think, in the last few years. So it's a really functional, rich tool, and to me looks really aesthetically pleasing. Some of the things we can do here is surface different content types or web parts I talked about earlier on. One of the cool things that I like is having these little discussions or conversations that you can start these demo. Can't write and type a conversation. Okay, cool. So you can actually start tagging people as well, which is quite cool. So you can start adding people into the service. You can also take different like kind of types of conversations. So you can have polls. So the answer one might be answer one. Let's make it simple. Demo 2, and then test 3. And you can start adding these and surfacing these to the board here. It won't let me do it today just because it's a demo environment, but you can imagine how you can start using this and tagging people into these services. So you can add another group here. All right, so this is quite cool if you want to start boards on Christmas party ideas, or you want to start tagging and liking comments. It's a very much a Facebook look and feel. And you see that pop up there. You'll notice that has similarities with the Teams service as well. So as a collaboration tool, it's kind of aligning the Teams and SharePoint user interface at the same time. So that's a little cool web part that you can plug into there as well. This is trying to show that you can bring in Twitter feeds. So this is a Twitter input. So the Consorto Twitter feed is posting the social media content that's maybe in an organization and bringing it through to this landing page for this team specifically. So that's a nice little feature as well. This little page and this little menu item doesn't quite work in this demo environment, but it's there to show you, because it's a landing page and a service to show you and articulate what it can do. You can see how all these different pages will hang off this overarching page, and you can create these navigation bars to your own requirement, and you can of course configure these skins and the look and feel here as well. You can bring hot topics through. You could put global calendars or time zones as well, so to see what times are in your other kind of areas that the people you work with, and you can bring in plugins for weather and things like that if you really want to know how long it's going to be raining for. And yeah, it's all about collaborating and showing you the service really. All right. One of the things that if you're kind of an admin or a super user in the system that we like to do, or I like to do, is go into the site contents. I was worried it wasn't going to work there. It looked like it had a wobbly, but effectively every site has a set of content within it. So it has, in this case, document libraries, a list for events, and some pages in the system. It can get a bit complicated and get into subsites as well. This site doesn't have any, but it's effectively a parent site for HR, and then you can add subsites for HR project team, HR team in Bristol, or HR team in New York, or whatever it may be. And you can tailor the content on those subsites to meet those people in that organizational structure. You can then add new content types or content items to the website or the SharePoint site that you're managing. One of the things that I like, which I don't think a lot of people know, is that you can go to the SharePoint store. It's like the App Store, and you can purchase apps that do specific things. So they're enterprise applications that companies like iCoTech have developed to do widgets. You know, Nintex forms. Let's look at the highest rating actually. You know, company news apps, InfoWise. You know, I've not used any of these personally, but you know, if they're free and sometimes paid for applications that will solve a specific problem for you, should you need to. So you know, that's something. You have got a bunch of free ones as well, but obviously I'll caveat that with don't go adding stuff if you don't know what it is and you don't have the right permissions to do so. But yeah, effectively you can add these apps into your site and then utilize them across your site, which is quite cool. So here's the kind of the screenshot that I showed you earlier, the different types of services you can add. So you can add, you know, lists and make custom lists. You can import spreadsheet, which will make your list for you, and calendars as well. So if you want to just put a team calendar on a service, you could do that here. And mailboxes, which is quite cool. So if you've got like a marketing team or you've got a marketing site, it'll come with a marketing mailbox then, which you can access through Outlook and start sharing and accessing your shared emails through this application service there. So I'm going to go back up now. I'm going to land back on my home page, and I'm going to go to the next project, which was the sales and marketing project. So it's just to give you a different flavor, the different types of sites, really. That site I showed you earlier is more of a community site, a community page. This is what I'd call a kind of standard SharePoint team site, really. So here you've got the different web parts again, but it's a different use case here. These are all the activities, so you can see which person has used the documents, you know, last if you wanted to do that. You've got a little view of all your document library here with all your files and your folders and all that kind of good stuff, so you can get to your file quickly, open it in the browser or in the app, and do all the other things like check it out, check it in, all those other services as well. I wanted to add news because I've never actually added news, so I'm going to do it on the fly because we don't use this for news, but yeah, so you can start. I've probably gone. I probably shouldn't have done what I have done now, should I? But you know, you can start creating your news article, and you can see how easy it is. If I can do it on the fly without planning for it on a webinar, then you guys can take the appropriate amount of time and start, you know, putting a news article together. And it's quite intuitive actually, isn't it? And it looks quite cool. So you can see the type of news articles that you could share and start to have across your organization. I'm going to post this really bad news article. Let's go for it and see what happens. It's probably going to break, but don't blame SharePoint for this. This is my inability to do it, but it takes a bit of time here. But the idea, look at that, we knew it wasn't going to work. But the idea is that we're able to go and create news articles for the business and publish them onto SharePoint here. So we go back to my page. I knew it was a bold move, attempted to do that on the fly. Oh, it has done something. But here you're able to add these web parts as you wish, and you know, kind of surface this content and share the content with the sales and marketing team, for example. Right. One of the other things you can do is create a project plan. So if you're used to using Planner, this is where you can bring in Planner. You can add an existing plan if you've got one, but for this example, I'm going to create a new plan called Demo Plan. I hope this one works because this one should be a little bit easier. But this is about creating a planner board within the SharePoint site itself. So you can see here on the left hand side that demo plan has come into the navigation bar on the left hand side because I had that tick box ticked, which said add it to the navigation bar. If I didn't have that tick box ticked on the right hand side there as I was adding it, it wouldn't have appeared on the left hand side, and you'd have to go into system settings to add it in there. But if you're used to using Planner, this is that service just embedded in the SharePoint site. So next week maybe you can add your buckets, and you can do that type of thing of creating these tasks and assigning it to individual users across your team, which is quite cool. And then if you're on Planner and you're used to using these services, you can use the charts view to do all your kind of how many are late, how many are in progress, how many are completed, who's done what or who's not done what. And again, you can use all these different interfaces to add a number of different tasks and set them to the required buckets and assign them to the right people. All right, and then you can go back into your board, and that demo task there assigned to Adele is in the service and works quite well. I just wanted to show you a better example. There we go. A better example is the Mark 8 project here, and that's got quite a well-developed planner board in here, just to show you the kind of type of tickets you could have on here and the functionality embedded within here from Planner. But you've got the ability to add labels, to kind of create your filters and create your group buckets and all that kind of good stuff. And one of the things as well is the idea of kind of SharePoint is that it's connecting this data into one place so you can go and surface it, but it doesn't prevent you from going elsewhere to go and get it. So the idea here is that we're able to go into Planner, just go to Planner or tasks.office.com, or go to your waffle here and go to Planner. This is the way I kind of normally get to Planner, he says. Here we go. I knew it was in a list somewhere. And that demo plan I created earlier, I think it's this one here with the task from Adele, that's in that service. So it's really about, I'm trying to show that that's the collaboration focus on the tool. It's about kind of surfacing that information, bringing 2 or 3 people together to go and create a project plan quickly, easily, and allowing the end user to do that. Again, really should be allowing people in the business to go and create planner boards, to create lists, and all those type of good things as well. The other little milestone, the other little feature left on the right hand side here is an event milestone. So, you know, if you had a list, again, you want to go and create you know, a record or an event, or maybe it's a key date. You can see how, you know, nice and intuitive this is, where we're going to have this event. There we go. So that's picking up from Bing as well. So, you know, you can bring in all these APIs from Bing to say, give me all the addresses. You can restrict that as well. So if you've got sites around your business, like 10 sites, you could say that list that field only looks at the list of sites that are in your business, for example. All these services are frequently available, and they're developing it constantly. Actually, it's hard to keep up, so some of this stuff that comes out is just happening so quickly. So I'm going to save that now, and it should appear on the right hand side of that home page. Let's click back on Mark's side. This is always the nervous bit when you're doing live demos and examples of these things. I'm trying to get back to the home page. There we go. So there's the testing site. Thank God for that. I was a bit worried it wasn't going to show up. But you can see the future up and coming events, the ones in the past as well. And you can bring these together from different sources if you want. So that's a web part that is plugged into that page that's pointing at, you know, the calendar that sits within this site. But also we can bring in other calendar fields from Facebook as well. So yeah. The other thing to think about, or just to show you, is the analytics and the other services that you can bring in here too. I don't like this because it's a picture. I shouldn't admit to that, but it clearly is a picture. But the idea is, if you're using Power BI as a data visualization and reporting tool, you can surface the Power BI report into a page. So you should be able to click on these tabs and move through different services. But it doesn't work in this demo environment. But the idea is here, you can see that, you know, if you're in the Mark 8 project team, you're, you know, being able to add your tasks, report on your kind of projects using your documents. You've even got a OneNote link here as well. One of the other things I like to show is this analytical tool. So we all know Facebook, impressions, LinkedIn, and all these social media platforms. Effectively, SharePoint is a mini social platform. It's nice to know how engaged your audience is on this platform. So you can use the analytics feature here to just understand how many people have been on the page, how many people have viewed it, how much time they're spending on it, you know, what time of the day are they using it as well. So and you could do that over different time periods. So you can see this demo environment is not used, but, you know, if it was a live environment, your organization would have, you know, a lot of data in here, and you'd be able to see trends. You know, are people coming in on a Monday morning, or are they coming in on a Friday, or are they coming in consistently, or are they coming in on the weekend? Because it's a really valuable product. Then you know, you can start to take some of that data as well. And if you wanted more information on that, we're able to pull that out into Power BI for multiple sites as well. So it's just one of the things we've done for another customer. So yeah, document management. I guess I just wanted to talk about document management in its basic form, just in case people don't use SharePoint for document management. I'm desperately trying to get there. Here we go. So this is a document management in a SharePoint site. Some of the new features that I really like is before a document library was really different to a SharePoint list. They were distinctly different. You couldn't do much with them. But now this document library is editable in a grid view, which is awesome. So I can come in here now, I can change dates and add columns and change names in this view, which is awesome, because before you'd have had to right click, go into properties and change it. Now you can interact with this like it's a list. Simple yes no columns. Demo test is good. Hopefully it's a yes. But you've got to make yourself laugh on these things. But hey, so you could be able to come in here and drop down and go yes, or no, and start capturing this information, and building a semi document library and SharePoint list kind of together, really. As before, it was quite difficult to do that. It even comes up with a tick, which is cool, rather than the word yes. So yeah, another feature that I like from this is the the shortcut to OneDrive. So I don't know if users of SharePoint before would have been stuck like I was, where I had on a locally saved document and I wanted to save it to a kind of repository, a drive on my desktop. And then I wanted to be able to kind of upload it to SharePoint. Well, what you have to do is you have to download it or save it to your documents in old school world, and then you have to go to SharePoint and go, upload the file. Well, now you don't have to do that. You add the shortcut to OneDrive, and that file, this document library, becomes a link in your OneDrive on your Explorer, on your File Explorer on your machine. So you could do a file, save as, click on that folder, and it uploads it to SharePoint for you, which is super cool. I love that little technology. So lots of other things in here as well. I talked about earlier integrating with the Power Platform, Power Automate. This is how you can do that. You can create flows if you've got Power Automate available in your organization, and those flows could do a myriad of things. You can connect this to Power Apps as well. So if you wanted to surface this data through a separate app, it really is quite powerful. It does give you a number of kind of demo or pre-built Power Automate flows, but yeah, I get lost in these. These get a bit complicated to go over my head, and they never really tend to work as out of the box things. You need a bit of support from your IT partner or iCoTech to give you a hand in kind of setting those up and making sure they work for your specific requirement. So yeah, but the capability is there. If you've got capability in your organization to go and build Power Automate flows, or you've got a lot of time, you want to do a lot of research on how to make this thing work and take these requests through a life cycle, then you can plug in Power Automate. Of course, you need to have the appropriate license. All right. So the next thing I want to show you was the document library's permissions. So I've got a list in front of me, just like to know where I'm going. So one of the things you can do is apply permissions to each site. It's the real value of the SharePoint service. So being able to have a site owner. These are my site owners, the people that are going to have access over the site, so be able to kind of change the settings, add a list, kind of the owners of the site. And then you have members. So these are people that can contribute to lists, maybe add a field or something like that, and then edit documents and edit web parts as well. And you can see how easy it is to change people if you want to, if you have the relevant permissions, of course. And then you've got visitors. So I love SharePoint because at iCoTech we deal with a lot of people that from a lot of different organizations. So all of our documents are on SharePoint. You're set up as a guest user in Office 365, and then we're able to share that document library or that file with anybody using their own email address or 365 service. So and they become visitors effectively. So it's a read-only view. Again, you could change that if you want to. You can have them editable. But yeah, that's the real heart of SharePoint, is about how do you control information and documents in a single repository. So yeah, that's pretty cool. If we move on to site settings now, so I'm just going to go in there. Why can't I see site settings? I am in site settings. That's a bit unusual. I normally get a different view here. I think it's a different project. Let me just go back up. So I just wanted to show you some of the other content types that you can build as well. And again, apologies if you know what a content type is. But effectively, a content type is the ability to create a list at the parent level. So you can, I'm trying to get there. I don't know why. Site permissions, site. Why is it not working? Okay, somewhere I'll get it to it a little bit later on. Always the way with these webinars, there's going to be a little bit of an error here from time to time. There we go. There's the old school site settings I was looking for. I knew I'd find it at some point. But site content types are effectively lists of data that you're able to go and create at the parent level of the site. And then all the subsites within that kind of collection are able to consume that content type. And if you add, say, 5 fields in holiday here, and you had another list further down in the subsite, you're able to, or you have to consume those content types fields set at the top parent level. It's a really good little tool if you want to keep consistency in your lists. So if you want every list to have a raised by, or every list to have a date due, or an owner of the record, you can set the content type up at the parent level of the site collection, and then you can add a subsite and a subsite, and every one of those lists in those subsites will be able to or have to use that content type, if you set it up in that way. So yeah, that's just a really important thing for data quality, data accuracy when you're reporting on these things. And then last but definitely not least is really where I think SharePoint is really, really valuable before I go back to my presentation, which will be much longer. But it's creating lists, so a marketing schedule, a product list, and it's adding the ability to add new columns here. It's a lot easier to do like this now. It used to be you have to go into site settings and go and create these things, but you can add hyperlink fields, so URL to document or URL to web page. You can make it a hyperlink, you can make it an image, whatever you need really. And you can make it mandatory, so you can require this contains data. And you can also here see saying it's add to all content types. So I'm effectively making an impact on all the other lists that use this list as a content type. Yeah, so it's now disseminating that change to all the other lists that are based off this one. Date and time choices, so you're now able to kind of create this list of lookups. Category, okay, so choices, you have a person, a people picker, as I like to call it. I don't know why I call it a people picker, but yeah, choice 1 might be completed, on track, at risk. And you can change the kind of color palette of these as well. So at risk, we might want to make that red today. And actually, we're going to go might fail again. The webinar might fail again. And that might be amber here. So you can do that here, or you can, if you want to, you can create lookups to different services if you get more advanced in kind of SharePoint development and that kind of thing. The default value for this record, we're going to say that everything's on track. So actually, every time you create a new record now in this list, it's going to set this value to on track, because we're all optimistic and happy people at the moment. Somehow, there we go. So we're going to add a new item into the list. He says, "I'm on machine, thank you." And you can see here, then it's automatically set that to on track, that field, randomly called demo. So yeah, that's really what this service is built for, is and really valuable in my experience, is creating lists, creating documents, creating pages, news articles, sharing that with your wider audience. That is really what I use SharePoint for, and we use it across our business as well. So there's a question here. Thank you very much for the question. Can you show a way to see which lists are dependent on all the certain content types, please? Great question. You probably can, but I'm not going to attempt it because I'm already a bit nervous the fact that I couldn't find those content types earlier. I think I might be logged in as not an administrative user in this service, so I don't think I'm actually the user of this the admin of this site collection. But Helen, there will be a way, and I'll post it in the chat later on. I'll get Chris to kind of answer that question for us. But thank you very much for the question. Yeah, just sorry, I'm not going to go attempt to answer it because I don't know the answer. But yeah, content types are really, really good piece of technology, and they can bring consistency to those lists. Any other questions on the call? I appreciate we can't come off mute at the moment, but are there any kind of questions anybody wants to put in the chat window? No. Okay, cool. If you do have any further questions, please do feel free to drop me an email at info@icotechservices.co.uk, or connect with me on LinkedIn, and we'd be happy to answer any questions that you did have. But with that, thank you very much for attending. I hope you enjoyed it. We got a lot of people attending this session, so there's obviously a lot of appetite for SharePoint. Please do just drop us an email if you've got any feedback, any questions, any observations. We'd really like your feedback, because we always like to iteratively improve on these sessions and make them better each time. So yeah, the social media team and the marketing team have a number of different platforms you can contact us on. LinkedIn, Facebook. You can subscribe to us on YouTube as well. We're trying to get over 100 subscribers, so please do see if you can drop over there and see if you can follow us on that platform. And if anything else comes to mind, please again do email me at info@icotechservices.co.uk. Thank you very much for your time today. It's much appreciated, and look forward to seeing you on the next one. Cheers now.